Good evening. It's 7:32, and we'll call the November Board of Selectmen meeting to order. For those of you in the audience who haven't been here before, we have to inform you of the emergency exits. The emergency exits are where that young man there is coming through right now, which will lead you up the stairway to the back parking lot. If you went straight down the back hallway, would lead you out the emergency exit that would put you out by the fire department on Orange Center Road. And if you were to leave going up the front stairs, which are behind the wall that the clock is on there, you would come out on Orange Center Road opposite the Congregational Church parking lot. Thank you. At that time, can we, with that said, rise and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'll start with a roll call. We'll start with Selectman Cosacrio tonight.
Roy Cosacrio.
Anthony Nastri.
Microphones. Let's remember microphones, kids. There we go.
Anthony Nastri.
Good evening, Joe Blake, and I have to say hello to my grandchildren. They're watching tonight for the first time.
All right, Poppy.
You got it.
Hi, Ann Petty.
Ralph Okenquist. Mitch Goldblatt.
Okay, Vincent Marino will be with us. He's at a meeting of the arts facility that's under consideration at this time, but he should be here soon. I think he thought he'd be here by now. Public participation. Is there any? Public participation is for any item that is not on the agenda. If anybody would like to speak on any topic there, you have 2 minutes to speak on any topic. Is there anybody on for public participation? Wait, hold on, Mitch. Come on up. You have to come up here and state your name and address.
This is in regards to the,
Microphone. They're going to get you on camera.
William Levitt, 639 Schoolhouse Lane. This is in regards to the leasing a property over there on,
Okay, that one, I thought you might be coming up for something else.
okay,
You're coming up for the one in regards to the parking lot?
yes.
That is item number 3 under new business.
Okay,
And at that time, then you come up and
Sure.
speak on that.
thank
I
you.
thought you might be coming up for something else, Bill.
No.
Oh, okay. All right, I think I see Dr. Pearson out there and a couple others, so I know that reason in the audience for that. All right, Mitchell.
Jim, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank an outgoing member of the Board of Selectmen, Roy Cosacrio. It is his last meeting as a member of this board, and I wanted to publicly thank him for his years of service, not just to the Board of Selectmen, but he's been an elected official in this town for some time, on the zoning board as well, and then on the Board of Selectmen, and certainly not only going to miss him as a colleague on this board, but I wanted to publicly thank him for the years of service he's put in, and I hope that whether he runs for office or not, again, is going to be his decision, but I hope that his dedication to the town continues in other ways. So I want to thank you, Roy, for all your help.
That's good, Mitch. Okay, I guess I have a few announcements to go through here. Of course, you've all seen the big checks out there from the state of Connecticut, the $500,000 checks for the Open Space Award from the state of Connecticut, from the DEP Open Space Grant Fund. We received $500,000 towards that Farm River Estates purchase. The bulky trash summary. The leadership committee that started that did a good job with it. They worked very hard at it. They did a lot of publicity and all. There were a few glitches in it we learned from this. As much as advertising and all as they did, there were a few snafus in regards to items that could be put out there, and some were questionable. You'll still see some computers and TVs and tires and a few things like that out there and others. And but all in all, for a first year, it worked out pretty well. I spoke with the vendor today, and we're at about 115 tons of refuse so far. They have to go back through and do a little sweep up here and there where some things were missed. We have a short list in the office, but they estimated it would be under 200 tons, and they're correct. They did a good job with it, and this senior leadership group should be commended, them and Latella Rubbish, who provided the service on it. Flu clinic. Yes.
You mentioned 115 tons. Do you know where that puts us in terms of what we budgeted for this? I know at the time we did it, we had really just no idea, so where does that put us?
Actually, it puts us very good, because the bid was for up to 200 tons at a 37,000 and change. Then once you went beyond that, you were going to pay $85 a ton, and they were anticipating there was a possibility of, Mr. Lieberman said we could hit upwards of another 100 or so ton, and we did have the money. It was left over from money that was unexpended from the sand and salt account from last winter, and it worked out well. It did work out well, and hopefully in a couple of years we can do it again. Yes, Mr. Blake?
I received positive comments also. People suggested the next time try to make it a little earlier October, so it doesn't fall on Halloween and it doesn't fall right into the month of November.
There were a couple contractual problems with getting it all in place. I would have liked it a little bit earlier too, and due to a couple contractual workouts, it took a little bit longer than we had anticipated. Flu clinic. The last clinic is tomorrow, Thursday, November 15th, from 4:30 to 6:30, for those of you coughing out there. And an appointment is required, and you can call the OVNA office at 891-2165, and if they have appointments open, they will fit you in, but the last one is tomorrow. The Thanksgiving dinner that's done by the Lions Club for people who would like to come and share a very nice turkey dinner up at the community center with the sponsored by the Lions Club is November 25th at 12:30. You'll see us there serving dinners. You can call Kim at Community Services, 891-2154 for that. It's a very enjoyable dinner. There's a lot of people there that all come, and you may sit with people you don't know. You may go with a group and make your own table, but it's a very enjoyable, brings a lot of people together. The holiday open house is December 2nd, the tree lighting and all here on the green. 3 to 5:30, there's events at the library and the Stone Otis House. And the lighting of the tree on the green is at 5:30 on December 2nd. It's a little bit earlier this year, so note that date. It's probably a week earlier. The train station, I don't know how many of you saw in the paper, the legislature has approved an $80 million funding for a train station in Orange. That was in the newspaper a week and a half ago or so, right before the election. I could have used a little bigger print on that one. And now it will go before the bonding committee and the governor to be signed, but our train station is rolling down the tracks. It is going to become a reality in Orange. It's just taking time. Let's see, Inauguration Day is this Friday, the 16th, at High Plains Community Center in the auditorium at 1 p.m. All are welcome. Newly elected officials. We've only gotten a couple people who are on the school board. Evidently, there's a CABE meeting, which is the education board seminar the same day, but it looks like most of the elected officials, newly elected officials, shall be there, but that's at 1 o'clock on Friday, but very prompt, at the community center. Oh, yes. Good Christmas gift for the veterans in your families. Applications are available for the memorial bricks in the walk-up at High Plains Community Center that committee has put together, and it's a continual, ongoing project there. Bricks that are ordered now won't be put in until spring, but you can place an order for a brick for a family member, loved one, friend, whoever it may be, by filling out an application upstairs. They're in the selectman's office and the clerk's office, I think. It's $75, and it's a very memorable donation for those who have people who've served. And I also would like to thank Roy. He was in an arduous process the last couple days with Selectman Nastry. They were in a countdown, and after 2 days of counting, we had this table full of staff and ballots, and it came out with a 7-vote difference after 5,000 plus ballots were counted, and these men were both very gracious in their step out and step in here. And in the happenings of it, only a man who's in the fence business could have a volunteer go through our fence into the playground. Had a little mechanical error, and 2 pipes were broken and bent over severely at an angle. And the kind of person Roy Cosacrio is, he saw those pipes were bent over, sticking out into the playground where the children would be out shortly later playing, and said that that's just not safe, as he was coming in to see if he was a winner or a loser. And he called to his business, which is Orange Fence and Supply, and sent up 2 men to pull those posts so that they wouldn't be a hazard to the kindergarten children over there by the playground. And then at the end of the day, when I was coming back from a meeting, he had 2 men out there, and the fence is completely repaired with new posts and top and everything that's required. And that's the kind of person Roy is. And Roy, we thank you for your service. And we didn't get you a plaque, because I think you'll probably be back with us. And I think the day will come, and I always have room for a good man on my team. So, thank you. Thank you.
With those kind of accolades, you could have used those before the election, you might have won.
Yeah, how do you think I feel? I won, but at the expense of losing Roy.
I was waiting for you.
Hey, Mitch, if you had fixed the fence, maybe it would have been different.
I think it was important too, Jim, that, with the new voting process that was in, there were a lot of questions and a lot of concerns as to how it worked, whether it worked, and I think we proved that the system is a good system. It played out. There's 1 or 2 things that they need to tend to, but to come back in after hand counting 5,000 odd ballots and be within 1 or 2 of what the machine said proves out the validity of the system.
On Tuesday night, for those of you who don't know, at the end of the election, Anthony Nastry was ahead by 8 votes. Way too close to call, on our own. So they did the count, and it took a day and a half. And when it was all said and done, Anthony Nastry ended up 7 votes ahead. So if the machines were very, very accurate. And there were some very high moments and some very low moments with some variations. But when it all averaged out, it was off by 1 vote from what it was on Tuesday night at the close of the election. So we are going to talk about disposal of the old voting machines, but I hadn't pushed it yet because I wasn't sure if I was sold on the new ones or not. Good evening, Attorney Marino.
Good evening.
Can you sing and dance now?
Oh, you bet.
Very good. All right, with all that said, is there anybody else for public participation? Hearing none, let's move on to the minutes. To consider and act on minutes of the October 10th regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Do we have any,
I'd like to make a motion that they be approved with some minor typo errors, and which I I identified to Ann, and I'll give her a copy of my marked up.
Okay,
But the substance, I found nothing wrong with the substance, it's just a couple clerical things.
all right, so you're going to provide her with a copy?
Right.
All right,
Just, well, some red, cedar circle should have been red cedar.
okay, microphone, Dennis is yelling there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just some minor things like cedar circle should be red cedar circle, and a couple things should be capitalized.
Okay, but you have a
the
marked up copy for her?
Mark up copy for Ann, yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I have a question on page 5,
Okay.
under item number 2,
Okay,
upgrade of the land record computer system by the town clerk. On the third line, it says the cost will be $1,811 per month, but the motion says only $1,811. Should that be per month?
per month,
So we should add per month to that motion.
right. Okay. Any others? Hearing none, is there a second to Mr. Okenquist's motion? Selectman Cosacrio, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. Old business. This is to consider and act on fuel-efficient vehicle ordinance. Attorney Marino, your timing was good on that. I didn't know if this is something that has to go to public hearing. I think it will.
Yes, it's something that needs to be put out to public hearing, but I wanted to provide the selectmen with just a modified ordinance.
Get rid of this one?
Yes. The change I noticed earlier today when I was reviewing it, the definition of high mileage motor vehicle under the Public Act in the second line was originally defined as any passenger car that has a United States Environmental Protection Agency estimated highway gasoline mileage rating of at least 40 miles per gallon. The Public Act actually says city or highway gasoline mileage rating. So I added the word city or in the second line of the definition. Other than that, it's identical. I also set it for October 108, which is our next grand list. So that's when it would go into effect, and it wouldn't affect your current grand list, since you're operating off of it.
So all that discussion, you condensed into one paper.
All that discussion just was condensed into 2 words, Jim.
Very good. Anybody on this, before I ask if any opinions in the audience?
Mr. Klotz is here.
That's all right, we know we're first.
No, the gentleman that proposed it is here. He may have a-
I know that. Nobody at the table? Audience? Alan?
Alan Klotz, 821 Tall Timber Road in Orange. Okay. I have, I guess, some concerns here. Mr. Marino, may I ask you to address them, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, for the ordinance, are you proposing that the high mileage definition that you just read be applied, that it apply to both city, whether apply to either city or highway gasoline mileage of 40 miles per gallon?
Yes, that's what the statute provides.
Okay, I agree that's what the statute provides. My concern is that there may be too many vehicles that meet this requirement if you include the highway stipulation of 40 miles per gallon. It's a lot easier for car manufacturers making just a gasoline-powered engine for a vehicle to design the engine and the vehicle so that it gets 40 miles to the gallon highway. I would very much prefer it be constrained somewhat to be 40 miles, at least 40 miles per gallon city driving.
And this board, what I did was I set it out as was permissible under the statute. This
Yes.
board can be more restrictive, not less restrictive. So the Hartford says this is what you can do, and you you can always make it more restrictive, you cannot make it less restrictive. So by keeping it to city, if you recall the debate, I don't know if it was in the last year or so, where they were talking about doing away with the car tax, some local property taxes. This might be in any way, if local municipalities were to adopt it as statutorily articulated, it might be a way of doing away with the car tax in its entirety. So if a majority of the cars would therefore qualify. So if this committee or this board wanted to strike the words "or highway" and keep it limited to city gasoline, I think you would be within your rights to do that, because it would be making it more restrictive.
Mr. Marino, I want to add one more thing here. The driving force behind, I guess, my request is to improve the air quality in our town. That would also help our neighboring towns, West Haven, Woodbridge, Milford. The majority, I think, of passenger miles is the term you use. How many people are driving how many miles? The majority of passenger miles being driven in the town of Orange would be city miles, on local roads, as opposed to highway miles. And that's what's driving me to request that you constrain it to a city mileage of at least 40 miles per gallon, so as to really impact the quality of the air here in our town.
And from my perspective, again, it's not my decision, it's the board's decision. I think the board would be within its right if they wanted to limit it to just simply city gasoline mileage, but that's a decision that the board has to make.
Understood.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jim, did you want to interject?
Well, it also says in the passenger one, the very last line, too.
I noted, yeah.
And-
I want to bring that up.
Okay.
Okay, under hybrid passenger car, fourth line down, I guess in the state statute, it says that this would apply for a passenger car or light truck with a model year of 2004 or later. I would like the board to consider making that a model year of 2008, somewhat more restrictive. There are two reasons for that. The first is that people who have vehicles of 2004, 5, 6, or 7 vintage have already committed, if they are the hybrid passenger cars, have already committed to driving in a very socially responsible manner so as to not have significant emissions. The second reason is the EPA mileage estimates prior to 2008 were really skewed, inaccurate, overly optimistic. The 2008 EPA mileage estimates are more realistic. And for those cars that meet the mileage requirement for the 2008, that meet the 40 mile per gallon mileage requirement and have been made in 2008, that is more restrictive than those vehicles made prior to this year, made prior to the 2008 model year. Okay, my third point is, as Jim intimated, if you go to the to the next to the last line, I guess, in that paragraph, it says Environmental Protection Agency estimated gasoline mileage rating of at least 40 miles per gallon. There's no constraint whether it be city or highway. Is this something that's in the regulations?
Just
that way?
highway,
It's just highway.
right before gasoline.
Oh, the new one says highway.
The
Oh.
old one does not say highway.
Okay, I guess in the copy I got it
All right.
was a little different. But I would once again ask you to consider constraining it to city gasoline mileage.
Did they offer an either/or on that one?
I'm looking at it right now. No, they did not.
So if they didn't offer an either/or,
I mean,
would you add it, or do you have to stick with what they?
well, it's more restrictive. Arguably, you're making it more restrictive by changing the word highway to city.
Exactly,
so,
that's why I'm asking you, yeah.
I would think you would be within your right to make it more restrictive.
Okay.
I appreciate the limiting or changing the 04 to the 08. The only question I would put to the board are you penalizing those residents who are ahead of the curve by, getting their hybrid beforehand and therefore not getting the tax exemption. I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, because really the purpose here is you want to encourage people to go out and get these cars so
Yes.
that you make the environment a better place. But there are already people who have done it, and you're in effect penalizing them from their tax exemption by not having a new car, because they
That's
have
a
no
good point.
six. So that's just something, the board is within its right to change it to 08 if you want, but just take into consideration the fact that for those residents who are already environmentally conscious, they are not going to benefit from it.
I think there were 2 points on that, though, weren't there? That the calculation was not accurate in prior years?
That's
How
correct.
inaccurate is it? And would that give people, was it on the high side?
The EPA estimates were consistently on the high side. They were, in a sense, overly optimistic. You would have to drive, how can I say, you would have to drive without using your brake at all to get, seriously, Anthony, you would have to drive without using your brake to get the EPA estimates, which is not realistic in a city environment or town environment.
So the 2008 cars are then more efficient, and the calculation is more accurate.
The 2008 car EPA estimates are more realistic. They used a different set of driving criteria. They allowed the, test drivers to use their brakes.
Yeah, but don't they have a regenerative system for the brakes that
Um,
recharges the battery?
Yes, which is great, yes. That's why they get such high mileage. That's one of the reasons they get such high mileage, besides having,
Say it's a good reason to use your brake.
Oh.
Other than safety.
yes. The final point I want to make to the board is, our town's a fairly affluent town. People can afford to buy new vehicles, say, every couple of years. So, such that if the board were to enact this kind of ordinance, then perhaps in about 4, 5, 6 years, depending on the price of gasoline and how our economy is doing, we might find quite a few people in town driving these highly fuel-efficient vehicles. I would therefore ask you to consider that at some future date, revisiting this if you act favorably upon it, and imposing a more restrictive requirement going from, say, 40 miles per gallon to 50 miles per gallon as a standard for either an abatement or negation of property taxes. Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
Just one question for, what was interesting to me is the definition of high mileage motor vehicles actually was reduced from the mileage. It was originally in the statute defined as being the sale of any passenger car that has a U.S. EPA estimated highway gasoline mileage rating of at least 50 miles per gallon. But in the Public Act, it was reduced to 40 miles per gallon, which I kind of did a double take on it. So why was it reduced? I wasn't able to find the answer.
I guess it was reduced so as to comply with my proposed ordinance.
Thank you for that answer. I can now go to sleep knowing I have the answer.
A couple of questions, or comments. One, I wonder if it was, because I don't know how many, there are a limited number of vehicles available that actually would meet those kind of mileage restrictions. And perhaps that in the state ordinance was reduced so it wasn't directing people to a single or one or two vehicles with the exception of others. And that's a question. Are there, between the 04 and the 08, model years, are there enough out there from 04 to 08 that were available to where allowing those abatements, is it going to have a real impact on town finances? I don't think, there weren't a ton available
Right.
in the earlier couple of years at least.
And I forwarded the proposed ordinance to the tax assessor for his review, and he said it was fine as is. He didn't think it was going to have a substantial impact. I think if you change '04 to '08, it's going to have even less of an impact, because you're talking about cars that really would have been purchased at the earliest this fall, because '08 cars would come out around August. So you'd really be reducing the impact going forward.
I don't think it's going to impact a ton of vehicles leaving it at '04, and
Not
I agree with your
yeah.
assessment that it penalizes people that were more forward-thinking.
Yeah.
I just have a concern with it, and Alan did touch on it about reviewing it every so many. I don't know if you would put that in the regulation of it, or just as a recommendation to future people who sit in these chairs, because obviously, they're going to be working on more and more efficient types of transportation. I mean, gas is what, $3.15, $3.19 for regular today. I mean, they're looking for more efficient ways of modes of transportation for people. And I think that, and I'm not quite sure how, if you write it in or just make a recommendation, that this be reviewed on a certain time period. I don't think 5 years is out of line, but I think 5 years from right now, you're going to see quite a difference in the vehicles that are traveling the roads.
Well, if you built in a sunset so that if the Board of Selectmen at that time wanted to continue it, they would have to enact a new ordinance, and, something that said
Okay.
that this ordinance expires on
Okay,
October 1, 2013, or 5 years from now.
okay.
Could you just say that it has to be reviewed?
Well, a sunset, I guess, is the
3 years?
right way to do it, now that he
So-
says that, it jogs my
Phases
mind.
out? All
Yeah,
right.
and then somebody will have to act on it, yeah. I think that's important, because as we progress, I mean, there's engineers out there that are designing all kinds of things. Mitch, I know you want to speak.
And 30 years ago, I would have thought we would be way past 40 miles a gallon by now, but we're not. But I do agree. We should have a sunset provision in this. 5 years is reasonable. But the high mileage motor vehicle provision, we're not saying what year that is. So somebody could have a 1989 car that gets 40 miles a gallon, you're going to allow that one, right? By the way this is written.
No.
Well, it's any passenger car that has a United States Environmental Protection
Right.
Agency estimated city, if you strike the words "or highway,"
Fine.
gasoline mileage rating of at least 40 miles per gallon. So any car that matched that definition would be eligible.
Right, so it's not, you're not limiting the high mileage cars to 2008 and beyond.
No,
I don't see
right.
any reason to prohibit those that are before that from the hybrids. And in essence, what we've done, or what this seems to be evolving into, is you might as well just write the ordinance that any car that has a city mileage of 40 miles per gallon. Because you've got no difference now between the hybrids and the high mileage motor vehicle. Because you're saying a hybrid's got to get 40 miles a gallon, you're saying a high mileage motor vehicle's got 40 miles a gallon. If you're not going to put any dates in it, just any car. It's very simple. I mean, and it also, by doing that, it makes it a simple ordinance. It also takes away any incentive for anyone buying a hybrid just for buying a hybrid. And I don't know if that was the intent.
I did not review the legislative intent behind the Public Act. The statute clearly, defines the two separately. Don't have a background in the automotive industry, so I don't know the mechanics of why there'd be two definitions. I'm assuming the legislature has done some type of due diligence, and there's a reason for it. We have to.
Don't give them more credit than they deserve.
Well, I think it's just that there are two ways of approaching that limit. A high mileage vehicle or hybrid passenger car, either one. There is technology available to make gasoline engines more efficient.
Sure.
And if you can get it that way, that's one way of doing it. The hybrid is another way.
And you can, if you would like, because the way that Section 19 of the Public Act reads says, any municipality may, by vote of its legislative body, provide a property tax exemption with respect to motor vehicles that are exempt from sales and use tax under subdivisions 110 or 115 of section 12-412 of the statutes. If you want to limit it to hybrid passenger cars, again, you're making it more restrictive and it gets around. Now you're pushing people toward a certain type of vehicle if they want to avoid property taxes. So that's a choice. You're not saying you have to buy this car. You're saying if you want to avoid property taxes, you have to buy this car. So if you want to make it more restrictive again and get away from, well, you know, what if my Dodge Durango, I can prove that it's actually getting this type of mileage? Well, no, it's really a judgment call.
We've all seen it.
It's a judgment call for the tax assessor, because he's the one who's going to make the decision.
You gotta bribe the EPA.
But you can see, it's something that the tax assessor is going to be doing. If you want to limit the work that he's going to be doing, then you can simply reduce it down to hybrids. But again, it's something for you to deliberate on.
Yeah, I'd like to see it stay at 2004, because I think that would encourage people, if they're going to buy a pre-owned car, to look at the hybrids rather than looking at a plain gasoline-powered car. You might get more hybrids staying on the road, and people would be more in tune to buy a hybrid car. So I'd like to see the 2004 stay. Even though it might not be as accurate as the new 2008 standards, I think it's still helpful. Anything we can do to cut the pollution and increase the mileage, I think is great.
Any more?
So with Ralph's comments, I think it dovetails what I was saying, is that I would ask the town attorney if it's appropriate, Mr. First Selectman, to redraft this just for any vehicle, any passenger vehicle that has a city gasoline mileage as estimated by the EPA of 40 miles per gallon or more, be eligible with a 5-year sunset. I think that would be the better way to take another look at it and then send it to public hearing. But it sounds like that's what I'm hearing across the table.
Yeah. All right, so you want to review this again next month before, and then send it to public hearing in January with those corrections? Everybody in agreement on that?
I'm gonna take out the hybrid altogether.
Microphone. 40 miles
just-
an hour, 40 miles a gallon.
Can do that?
If I had a computer, I'd do it now.
Is it-
Car dealerships at this table.
If you're going to do that, it might be worth looking at whether or not there would be any impact. Under the hybrid, it lists them as being certified low emissions
Yeah, it's-
vehicles. I don't imagine there's a lot of passenger cars available out there that are doing 40 miles an hour city that aren't hybrids, but
Right.
Maybe what I'll
that
do is,
impact might be worth looking at.
and what I'll do is I'll contact the state and see why it was done. I'll modify it to and if I can't, because of what I've heard from the state, I'll report back next
Okay.
week.
Okay, so we're putting that on for the December meeting. Again. Very good, okay. Consider an act on disposal of the old voting machines is something that we had posed. Now that the new machines have gone through their first test, we do have, how many machines, Mr. Blake?
13,
More than that. Or is that it total?
that's a total.
Okay. And there are some old ones which some people have desired.
Right, there's 2 of them that go back to, when? That go back to when Arnold Hines was first selectman. Serial number, one of them is 97300, I know that.
All right, I know one of those we're
And
keeping.
the other is 97216, I believe.
You gotta get a hobby. I know that one of those machines, one of the oldest ones, still has an Arnold Hine label on it, they tell me, is going to the clerk's office. The Historical Society didn't want it. Both Mitch and I have investigated that, and they don't want one, so that one is going into the clerk's office. It will be in the vault. The town will retain one. The other old one, Mr. Cozzacrio has requested, he's gonna put it down in his storeroom over there. And,
He wants it because he wins on those machines.
and then, there are some, Carmela Puzo and Mary DeVito had a couple people who wanted a couple machines, both mechanics, I guess, wanted them, and there was question that Amity, now that they're all refurbed and all, might want a couple. So after that, we still have 7 or 8 machines, which will probably be the big blue machines. And I had thoughts of putting them on eBay, if any of you have trouble with that. I mean, it's a minimal impact for the town, and if somebody buys them, we'll make it pickup only. They'll have to come and get them, and if there's somebody out there who would be interested in buying one of the voting machines from the town, contact the First Selectman's office, 891-2122, extension 737, and let us know and make us an offer, and we'll have Joe Blake take you and show you the machines and put an offer out there. That's
I'll even give them supplies.
So that's the best I can tell you on that. Does anybody have any trouble with that disposal method? It doesn't really require a vote. It's just what, we waited till after this session was done last week. Okay, good. Yeah, yesterday for some. Under new business, item number 1, to consider and act on bids to do electrical work for computers at Case Memorial Library. Mr. Robert DeFeo, I know there he is. I cut him off today because I didn't see him coming. There was a van coming the other way. I felt that.
Maybe East Haven would be interested in those.
They're definitely interested in something. Bob, you have a proposal before us for some electrical work at the library.
Yes, I do, Jim. Good evening. My name is Bob DeFeo, and I'm a member of the Case Memorial Library Commission, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of our library director, Merrill Farber. You have before you a memo and 2 bids concerning electrical work for the library. Over a year ago, the Library Commission approved the addition of 8 new computers to the computer section of the building to meet sharply increased usage and to allow more space for our ongoing free computer training. To accommodate the new computers, we have removed an unused microfiche machine, relocated book stacks, purchased and set in place new computer tables and chairs, which if you've been over there, you've seen. These are to allow more space for our ongoing free computer training programs. We asked Albright Electric of West Haven to provide us with a cost to provide the wiring and connections for these computers, and we received that cost in mid-October. The cost was such that we had to go to the town engineer, and we felt we were obligated to report that price to the town engineer. Now, what we've done so far is to spend $11,799.12, which we've paid for out of our gift fund account for the work that we've done so far. The town engineer prepared a bid for this work and advertised it, and you have the 2 responses. A third bidder visited the library but never sent us a bid. So tonight I'm here to ask you for approval on the Albright bid, which is in your packet for $5,900 plus a $275 cost for an initial patch if that's necessary. And that particular detail was discussed between Albright and John DiNicola, who is the computer expert that we've been using for this project. Your approval will bring this total price for this computer edition project to $17,942 $1,000.12 if the patch is required. This total amount will be completely funded by the library's gift fund account at no cost to the town. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't think we can, as long as the Library Commission has voted and approved this, which I presume they have.
Well, we have. We've discussed it, Jim, and knowing that we had to come here and present it to you, we are prepared to approve this tomorrow,
Okay,
which is our normal monthly meeting.
okay.
I'd
and
like
so-
to move approval.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Selectman Cosacrio? Any more discussion on that? There can't be a lot when it's coming out of their gift fund.
The approval is for the low bidder, correct?
It was Albright, yes.
Yes, Mr. Blake?
I just wondered, will the work be done in normal business hours that the library is open, or have you agreed that you could go after hours, or when it closes
Joe,
on
that's,
Saturdays or something?
That's something that we routinely discuss with the contractors. The bulk of this work will be done in the basement. So the only amount of work that will affect the computer area will be the holes that they drill to provide the outlets for the new tables. That will be done before the library opens at 10 o'clock. So there will be no problem with their working on this project. The previous work that was done, the moving of the stacks, that was all accomplished with effortlessly, no problem.
Okay. Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Get your drill out. Okay. The second item under new business, consider an act on change in library membership program from Library Exchange Arts patrons to libraries online. You should have, there was a extra letter handed out, that was at your place tonight. It's a new organization called Lion. They want to join, and there's an agreement that the Board of, I had signed on behalf of the town, the Board of Selectmen, and so we have to give them that certain window to leave that organization, and Ken Ziman and Merrill are here, and I think they'll give you a little bit of insight into that. Lady and gentleman, either or.
Hi, I'm Meryl Farber. I'm the library director of the Case Memorial Library, and I know you have a packet of information before you. I just wanted to mention just a little bit of background, just to fill you in. The Case Memorial Library is one of the founding members of the LEAP Consortium. 5 libraries and towns comprise LEAP. Consortiums formed in several areas in Connecticut among libraries. By sharing resources, they were able to save money and offer more services to their communities. Over the past year, it has become evident that the LEAP Consortium really is not offering services and technology to the Case Memorial Library that other consortiums are offering. And one of the consortiums, we had a committee that formed, and we looked into Lion, which is Libraries Online. And we just really felt that we formed a committee on the Library Commission, and Connie Baltimore, who's back there, she's the co-chair of the Library Commission, and actually the vice president of the Library Commission. And she formed a committee. I was on the committee, as were 2 other Library Commission members. Also, we had 2 members of our staff. We had the two members of our staff who helped bring over a new online system to Millennium, which is the same system that they have in Lion. So we looked very thoroughly at both consortiums, and we really feel, with the information before you, that Lion is going to offer us savings, and membership for Lion would come out of would be budgeted for next year in the library's automation budget, And with the membership plus downloadable audiobooks, which all the Lion libraries have, and also it included a one-time joining fee. It's still about $150 less than what we would be paying for LEAP for next year. The big cost is in the migration, because what we need to do is we need to take all the records for all our materials, and they need to go into the records for the new, into Lion. Even though it's the same system, there's a migration charge, and that particular cost we would be taking from our Pride Trust Fund. And that, again, would be without any additional cost to the town. We would be funding this ourselves. And we need the recommendation of the Library Commission and the letter of intention that was sent by the first selectman that we would like to withdraw our LEAP membership needs formal approval from the Board of Selectmen. So I don't know if you have any questions on that. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Yes.
Yes, Ralph.
I have one. Is there anybody other than Triple I that can do this?
Triple I is Millennium. It's the same system that we have. We just converted from an old GX system to Millennium. Millennium is considered the best online system around, and 25 Lion libraries have it, which includes Woodbridge. We're already on this system. It's just converting under, LEAP is on the same system. It's just that we would be getting so much more from a membership in Lion. Looking down in the future, I mean, they would be giving us 3 computers a year. We have already paid since 2002. The library has spent $29,653 of our own money on computers. John D. Nicola was able to negotiate a very good price on the 8 computers we just purchased for the computer workstations. That came out to about $715. It's going to save us about $2,100 a year on computers by associating with Lion. And there was a particular product that we wanted to purchase with groups, with 25 member libraries. We can get a lot more for our buck as well. We're able to negotiate online technology where we're not able to do that, through LEAP. Sure.
One question. I'm not sure, I know the question. The migration fee is $38,950.
Right. Yes.
And you have a opportunity to pay that over 2 years.
We could pay it over 2 years.
If you were to pay it in 1 year, would they reduce that 38,000 then?
No, because that actually needs to be paid to Triple I for the migrations course as well. So they can't do that. But there may be some savings. There may be some slight savings just in terms of some of the fines we can transfer over more easily, so maybe slightly less than that, but that's what we anticipate, and that would come out of our Pride funds. Our Pride funds are about at $148 right now. We're expecting another check for almost $5,000 in the Pride fund in probably, I'd say, January, February. So we do have the money. Yep, sure.
Ken Zahn, Chairman of the Library Commission. I feel like the guy at the Oscars who's trying to thank his mother when the microphone goes down through the floor. The only reason the 2 years was even mentioned there was that there was not going to be a finance charge. And if it turns out to be economically feasible, we would do it over 2 years. That was the only reason it was mentioned at all. And the only other thing I wanted to say was that initially, I don't think any of us really thought with the cost of the migration that this made sense to do. And once we looked at the 2 programs, we've made a real commitment to technology in the library with the workstations and the ability to become wireless. And Lion gives us a much better look into the future of technology than we felt LEAP did. And those are the reasons that we
And you have the money in place to do that?
We do.
So there's no impact on your budget?
No.
Okay. Yes, Mitchell?
Yeah, I was going to say that I know there's been some concerns about the LEAP program for a number of years, and I applaud the Library Commission for looking into it as thoroughly as they did. And they've put together a very complete package analyzing the costs and benefits involved, and I would therefore like to make a motion that we allow the Library Commission to make the change from leap to lion, and to be authorized by the first selectman by November 16th.
Is there a second to that? Selectman Nastri? Is there any more discussion from the table, from the audience? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Very good. You're
Thank you
approved.
very much.
Ann will take care of that letter tomorrow, and we'll fax it out.
That sounds great. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Very good. Item number 3 is to consider and act on leasing property located behind People's Bank and adjacent to the Mary L. Tracy School to Frank Rogers. And Mr. Okenquist can sit in my chair. I have to recuse myself on this since I'm the adjoining property owner. It happens.
Okay, Vin, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair. Just for any members of the audience, there are extra copies of the ground lease on the side table if anyone is interested in a copy. Otherwise, for anyone at home, there'll be copies on record at the First Selectman's office that can be obtained tomorrow morning. For the last few months, the board has been reviewing this matter to lease property that is behind the People's Bank area and downhill from the Mary L. Tracy parking lot that is owned by the town, and the town believes, it's my understanding, the selectmen can correct me, that it can serve an additional town function if that downgrade property is improved to a municipal parking lot for the use at Mary L. Tracy. And the town was approached by the owner of the shopping center in the center of town to lease, originally to purchase, but the town said it was not interested in a purchase, but would agree to a 99-year ground lease for the development of that property as a parking lot only. And in exchange for the 99-year ground lease, the owner of the shopping center would, at his expense, construct a parking lot to the town standards, a stairwell leading from what would become a lower parking lot to the upper Mary L. parking lot, so that users could access the Mary L. Tracy School and fields from the lower parking lot, and would provide the town with an easement to access that back parking lot. It's our understanding at this time that the shopping center owner wants at this parking lot to be developed because his intention is to expand the bank into a third driving stall or lane only, which it's my understanding would become an automated teller stall. And at this time, that's the only plans that I'm aware of. And I do have a map that I'll put up so people can see a little bit more of what we're talking about. But so the selectmen have been discussing it, and what the discussions and the negotiations with the owner have resulted in is what is before the board and the public, which is a ground lease agreement with an attached easement. And what this will ultimately do, if this board votes in favor of it, is to refer it to a town meeting, which will take place in May, and ultimately whether or not the town enters into this ground lease will be dependent upon whether it gets approval at the town meeting, because it is the town meeting that serves as the legislative body to sell or grant interests in town property. So that's all that this board would be doing right now, would be referring the matter to a town meeting. But let me put this up so I can broadcast this. Can you all see it? They can see it on TV then. And just so everyone is more familiar, this is the People's Bank right here. And if you, from the public, if you want to come up, feel free to come up. It's the People's Bank. Here are the driving stalls right here. The subject property, the parking lot, is essentially this square right here. The parking lot expansion would be here. This is the hill here that leads up to the existing Mary L. Tracy parking lot. There would be a stairwell that would be constructed here, and the whole area would be lit. Again, the municipal function would be, this area would provide additional parking to the Mary L. Tracy School, which suffers right now from a lack of parking, which interferes with it's my understanding from the neighbors over there, particularly on days like Election Day and school, opening day of school and any soccer events.
Benson,
Yes,
they are the neighbors from over there.
I understand, but they don't know that out in TV land. Again, what this would do from the owner's, the commercial owner's perspective, would provide him the additional space that he requires in his existing parking lot to allow the bank to put an extra stall here, which without this parking lot, he does not have the room. So there's a symbiotic relationship that would exist over the next 99 years. Ultimately, the way that we have written the lease, the owner of the property, which is Frank Rogers, would have, I believe we had originally set the lease, in the lease, it's 1 year from the date of approval, which would be 1 year from the town meeting, if approved at town meeting, to actually construct this this parking lot. So there's an expectation on the town's part, if this got approval, that a year, by May of 2009, there would be a parking lot there for use. Any questions or comments?
And how many spaces?
Excuse me, sir. Would you, at the podium, state your name and,
Okay.
name and address.
William Levitt, 639 Schoolhouse Lane. And how many spaces would be there?
About 35 additional parking spaces.
And would these spaces be allowed for any other parking, such as another building being built on his property there, someplace? Would those spaces be allowed? Would he,
I understand your question.
Yes.
I think to restate the question would be whether or not these spaces would be able to be utilized by the commercial owner for maybe an increased.
Yes.
And this area, just so you're aware, there's the center of town where the shopping center is considered the local shopping district. That local shopping district is this rear line here, comes to this point, comes down to the western side of the town's property, comes along, and then comes back this way. So the proposed parking lot would not be part of the local shopping district, and we're not suggesting at this point that the zone be changed at all. To answer your question more directly, it's my understanding it would be up to zoning, but that if it's the town's property that in my opinion, it would not be something that he'd be able to take advantage of, but that is something that would be up to the zoning commission.
Would that be in writing?
There's nothing right now in the lease agreement that says he could not do it.
I see that.
But that's something that the board could consider and incorporate into the lease if you wanted to. But again, from a zoning perspective, I would imagine that what the zoning commission would be looking at is whether or not there's sufficient parking on his property to justify the size of, let's assume for the sake of discussion, you wanted to put a building right here.
Right.
If there was sufficient parking over here, or, this wraps around, and there's parking over here. So he very well might, without this, be able to put something. I just don't know how much property he has back there and how many spots he could put. Whether he could utilize this to put a big box store back there, we could, if the board wanted to, we could put that in the agreement to make it more airtight. If the public had concerns and if the board wanted to incorporate that.
I have concerns about that.
That's not in the agreement right now.
Can I just chime in for a second? Because
Yes.
part of the discussion I think that we had initially on this, the reason,
Excuse me, Roy?
Yep.
Things that we discussed in executive session, we can't discuss here. So,
How can
it
we
would have to-
restate that then?
let's restate this. Let me fall back on previous zoning expertise.
you can ask a question.
Let me fall back on
Can't refer-
previous zoning expertise to say that I believe that this parking lot is required because of the spaces that are going to be lost at People's Bank.
That's right.
The installation of that third drive-in lane are going to require, is going to claim existing parking spaces, which would then be a problem.
But I understand where you're going, but it was my understanding that because Mr. Rogers, say that in a straight face, because Mr. Rogers' property kind of horseshoes around Ms. Logioco's property, he would be able to, I mean, again, you're our zoning expert on here, but he would be able to utilize parking spaces on this portion of his property for space that he would lose here. But the concern was that because of the additional setback of the driving, that it would be too tight here from a radius and a turning standpoint where, the construction of this, he kind of needed more from a driving standpoint, not from a parking space standpoint, because he could utilize this area from a parking space standpoint. Now, he may not want to, because he may want to put the Taj Mahal back here, I don't know, and we don't know at this point. I showed, there are building plans of record, which you can get upstairs, where there were plans prepared back in the 80s and in the 90s for development back here that we all looked at. There's nothing pending that we're aware of before zoning as we sit here today. The only thing that we're aware of is the fact that People's Bank is desirous of expanding a third bay. So as we sit here today, again, it's a board judgment, but as we sit here today, we're unaware of anything other than the expansion of People's Bank into a third. I do appreciate your concern about the utilization of this for future development, and that's something that could be addressed. Whether customers of People's Bank will be utilizing this to park, because again, it's a symbiotic relationship where the owner of the shopping center will be paying 100% of the costs of the construction. What he's gaining out of that is the benefit of the parking use. What the town is gaining out of that is the benefit of the parking use. And of course, because the uses of parking are not at the same time, most of the school parking will be on the weekends and in the evenings, and his parking, or the business parking, will most likely be during the week, during the day. There seems to be, again, a relationship that can go forward where it's a benefit to everyone. And so, but again, that's up to the board whether or not you want to incorporate that into the lease. My thought on that would be that this is scheduled, town meeting would be scheduled for May, and there's sufficient time between now and the town meeting to go over and continue to dot i's and cross t's. And ultimately, it would be a town meeting issue of whether or not to approve it. So we could, and there could be, we could continue this matter, we could continue the matter and review it next month, or we could refer it to town meeting and go back and if the board so directed and incorporate changes, it would put us back in a negotiating posture with the owner.
Is there anything in the... Okay, sorry. Is there anything in the lease that says that Mr. Rogers has to fix potholes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I see here, you have on part here, in regards to the stairway, will he maintain the stairway? Unfortunately, Mr. Rogers has a history of not maintaining his property. That's all right.
It was of concern to the board that the property be maintained according to the town standards, and there was, from a construction standpoint and a maintenance standpoint, there is a requirement that the lessee, who would be Mr. Rogers, be required to do that maintenance so that this parking lot was at a level that was of an acceptable standard to the town. With respect to the parking, not the parking lot, the stairwell between the upper and lower parking lot, it was felt that that should be designed by the town, paid for by Mr. Rogers, then maintained and insured by the town, because there was a concern that since the users of that stairwell would be people utilizing the town facility, that the town wanted to be in control of the maintenance of it, and the insurance of, since any ultimate lawsuit would fall back on the town anyway. So the town wanted to be in control of that. So from a design standpoint and a maintenance standpoint of the stairwell, that would be a town responsibility. From a cost of construction, that would be Mr. Rogers' fee to pay. From a maintenance of the parking lot and a construction of the parking lot, that would be Mr. Rogers' responsibility, but the landlord, which would be the town, would have the ability to go and say to its lessee, you're in breach of your lease because you have failed to maintain it in accordance with acceptable standards. And that's something that is within the lease.
Okay.
That is in the lease.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions, but I'd like to speak my 2 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, I'm William Levitt, 639 Schoolhouse Lane. I lived over there since 1994. I disagree with the town leasing anybody any land for 99 years because essentially they own it. However, there's a serious problem over there, okay, which the town officials and police officials have ignored for years, okay, and I've fought them for years, okay. The best I've got is no parking signs on one side of the street, okay. You have many events at the school. One that just happened was on Halloween, okay. You got 200 kids over there. I had to call the chief of police up myself and inform him that there was that type of event over there, because I've called many, many times because they park on both sides of the street, even though there's no parking signs on one side of the street, okay? And the street is totally inaccessible to large emergency vehicles, okay? It's a public safety issue. Nobody cares. It's been just ignored for years, okay? I'm the only one that seems to care about the matter, okay? Because it's simple. If someone on our street has a heart attack or one of those houses is burning down, you need to have those emergency vehicles get there. I personally called the chief up before Halloween and told him about the Halloween event. He said he was going to send a police officer over there, okay, which he did. Police officer parked on the right-hand side of the road, and he allowed people to park on the left-hand side of the road, okay, on the no parking sign side, okay. I asked him why. He said those were his orders from Lieutenant Martin, okay. To me, this is ridiculous, okay. And besides, school buses go around that corner. There's a lot of serious issues on that corner over there, but everybody ignores it, okay. The police officer left after the event. The cars were still there, okay. It's just ridiculous that they don't do anything about it. In my opinion, the street should be made one way, okay, but that's beside the point. The point is that nobody does anything about it. There's no communications between the town hall, Mary L. Tracy and the police department, okay? And I've asked them more than once to, send the important events so that the police could come over there and take care of the problem, okay? But it's, to me, it just doesn't make any sense at all that this continues and continues and continues, okay? And then the other thing with that parking lot down there, are the parents actually going to go down into that parking lot, okay, and walk up those flight of stairs, okay, to Mary L. Tracy, okay? So, again, I don't, as far as I'm concerned, the town of Orange should make that a parking lot, okay? And the police and the Mary L. Tracy should get some better communications where a person like myself doesn't have to be calling them up all the time, okay, to get them to do their job, period. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Am I understanding clearly then, if the town were to make that parking lot, into consideration of who's going to go up and down the stairs?
Right.
I can't say it's been discussed because it might have been in session, it might not
Yeah.
have been, but you can think of yourself on that one. Are you saying if the town were to make that a parking lot, you would feel a lot more comfortable in the fact that the town is doing it and not a private individual?
Yes.
Okay. So you're really not objecting to it being a parking?
No, it's great. It needs to be, they need some relief from
I
the...
kind of thought that because it would eliminate the double parking on the street where you already
Yeah,
reside.
it's just, I've lived there since 1994, and it kills me to see that happening, okay? I owned an ambulance company for 27 years and worked on it for 15 years, okay?
Well, I can
And
understand. I can
seen a lot
understand
of
the
people
concern.
die and suffer, okay? So I don't want to see that happen, okay?
Well, we did solve one of your requests, and when a helicopter's landing, they let you know it now, so.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Since Mr. Levitt just addressed the board, I want to just address, just to follow up what Joe said, a lot of our consideration for this was because of the concerns that you've had over the years, and I'm very much aware of them, and that we've got a building that has far inadequate parking, and we've been very, very lucky over the years that the Orange Congregational Church has often let townspeople park there, which they don't have to do, but they have. It also creates crossing Orange Center Road, which isn't always the best thing to do either. By this agreement that we think we're coming up with here, we can't force people to park below and walk up, but they have an alternative, or they will potentially have an alternative now that they don't have. And people will say, I've got nowhere else to park. We'll have, at least for 35 spaces, and even more, have somewhere else to park where they can access the area. And so that's, despite your concerns, I think we are trying to address exactly what your concerns are by looking at this. So, hopefully it's a win-win for everyone.
I have another question. Sorry. Why doesn't the town of Orange just take a portion of this soccer field. I understand that eventually this soccer field is not going to be a soccer field, and they're going to be over on, Wolf, okay? Why don't they just take a portion of this soccer field and make a parking lot? That would eliminate the whole problem.
Until we have more soccer fields, I don't think we're looking at that, but that's a whole another discussion.
That's right. Because, yeah, that's true, too. They play softball over there, too. They play softball
Yes,
there, too.
yeah, they do
And-
play softball there.
And the way the softball field is
Yeah.
constructed, balls would go out there,
I got you.
so,
Okay.
okay? All right.
Just,
Our only interest in doing this was to help solve the parking
understand.
problem. Right.
And at the same time, the town is saving some money by having him do the parking lot. And so it's kind of
no one gets something for nothing, and
That's
we
right.
all appreciate that. But the other thing, to follow up on what Mitch said, is under the agreement, the town is not limiting itself to use of 35 parking lots. We, under our access easement, would be able to utilize, so in the evening, we could utilize all of his parking. And, is it the best alternative? The answer is no. Of course, something level with the school would be the best alternative. But because we're limited on space, this is the most viable alternative at this point.
I have one more question. That stairway, and I'm not sure how long the stairway would be, okay? Who would shovel the snow and so forth off that? Who would?
the town.
The town.
They would. They would take. I'm just.
Not me.
I'm Howard Pearson. I live at 621 Schoolhouse Lane, and I think this discussion has clarified concerns that me and my neighbors had concerning this. I think that as long as we can be sure that the traffic emptying onto Schoolhouse Lane does not increase, interfering with the buses and the 70 or 85 mile speed limit on Schoolhouse Lane, which is currently, we ought to put some speed bumps there. But other than that, I think this, when you announce this, if you can emphasize the fact this will really not increase the traffic on Schoolhouse
That's
Lane.
right. It won't. In fact, it'll probably decrease it some. Okay, anybody else on the board have any comments? My only comment is I'd like our town attorney to take these comments into consideration, and since we just got the formal thing to read tonight at the meeting, I'd like to put this off, suggest that we put it off until the next meeting.
Yep, that's fine. We have plenty of time between now and May to
Right.
actually make the referral.
Right.
I received from Attorney DeRosa this evening a couple of additional language changes that Mr. Rogers would like us to consider. So maybe what would be best, since it's a negotiation and we'd want to be able to speak freely amongst the board, is to go back into an executive session mode next month, since it's not on the agenda for executive session tonight, discuss the changes, get the ground lease as complete as possible, then bring it back to a public session for referral, if that's the decision of the board. I mean, the other way of doing it, I would think, is you could refer it to the town meeting at this point, subject to your final negotiation. But it's probably not the preferable way, because ultimately this could break down.
Way
most of the
number
negotiation.
one.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we've got time, right. Okay, any other comments from the board or the audience? Okay.
I just want to say, we will be, I've got a cold, as you can tell. We will be bringing a new member on the board.
Right.
I would like to make sure that she sees a copy of this.
Right.
I handed one to her tonight.
Good, okay.
Very efficient town attorney here, Mr. Okay. At that point, I will leave the chairman's spot here and ask Mr. Zioli to resume.
Good job.
Well, I was glad to see Ralph didn't eat my candy and didn't finish my water. Very good. You know, guys, while you're looking at this, there's a little piece of land there that happens to touch my property in the parking lot. I could be interested in leasing a piece from you, too.
Point of order, it's not on the agenda.
Thanks a lot.
Here's your agenda.
You must recuse yourself.
Just thought I'd mention it. Okay, item number 4, to consider and act on appointment to Greater New Haven Transit District. All right, this is a appointment, Karen gave me this. There are bylaws required with this, and this was Gus Marathis's seat on the Greater New Haven Transit Board, and he passed away. And so we need to replace him, and if you look at your second sheet there, section 1B of the district bylaws, directors and alternates shall be appointed by the chief executive or the board of selectmen of the municipality with the approval by the legislative body, which is this whole table. It is important to identify the director as well as designate an alternate and pass these designees through the legislative council so as to ensure their appointment. So that's why you have that appointment there for, I believe it's Michael Storrs, who is on the Community Service Board as a representative to Greater New Haven. It's one of those liaison positions. Very good man, does a lot of good for the community and the region, and he comes recommended by the Director of Community Services for that.
I'll make a motion that the appointment of Michael Storrs be made to the Greater New Haven Transit District.
So I think, is your microphone on?
Yeah.
I think he just wasn't picking you up. All of these guys, just so you know, after standing out in that cold and that rain about a week ago, Joe Blake is sick, Anthony Nastry's sick, Ralph is sick, Mitch is sick. Not me, though. I'm okay. Judy's okay.
I'll second the motion.
Ray's okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Selectman Okenquist, second by Selectman Nastry. Is there any more discussion on that? Hearing none, we approve the appointment of Michael Storrs to the Greater New Haven Transit District. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. All right. Item number 5 is to consider and act on a resolution for the open space grant. Okay, this is a letter in front of you from my friend Dave Steiger. We're working on a few pieces of paper now that have to be combined together, and again, this is for the $500,000 that we received from the DEP from their open space and watershed grant program towards the purchase of the Farm River Estate property, or Ewan Farm property, some people know it as, and we need to approve this resolution. Do you want it read, or can we waive the reading of this resolution? Has everybody read it, and does anybody have any trouble with it?
No.
Hearing none, can I have a motion on it? Selectman Blake and Selectman Nastry. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Okay. Next one also goes along with that. Is to number 6, to consider and act on certification for the open space grant. Have you all read that? We have a, need the reading or no?
No.
Okay, can we have a motion, please?
Second.
Selectman Nastry, Selectman Okenquist. Is there any more discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Yes, Mitchell?
Before we move on, just a quick question concerning the $500,000 grant. And everybody's pleased that we received the grant, but I'd just like to know why we have checks all over town, or three spots in town, and why will they pay? Who paid for that?
They're paid for by the town of Orange. They're made out to the town of Orange so that the people were aware that a $500,000 grant was received on behalf of the town of Orange towards that purchase. They will be up until Friday, and then they will be down there 2 weeks' time will be up.
Was it necessary to do that?
Yeah, I think it was rather important for the people of town to know that what was received. There was a lot of talk out there, and I think not everybody reads the papers or always sees Ogat or anything. And quite honestly, we received quite a few comments at the town hall of pleasure, not realizing that we had gotten it or not fully understanding it. And it caused some people to ask questions, and just as you're doing, and they all generally were rather pleased when they found out that, $500,000, and once they found out that was the most that the state gave to any one community, they were rather pleased by it, thought it was a nice gesture. So it was just a public information.
It was a publicity stunt, and it did a good job, but I just don't think it was necessary to spend town funds on putting big checks in front of the town hall. We've received grants before. We never seen the need to do that, but what's done is done. Just thought I'd bring that up because I heard many comments that were not as positive as the ones you heard.
Well, that is too bad.
Jim, quick question. We approved the sign for the Clark building, and we're in the historic district. Do we have to get permission to put signs of that size up from historic district the next time?
Nobody has commented in that regard.
That's the only thing
They're there for 30 days, otherwise you'd pay a penalty, but they won't be there
I'm
for
sure we're not
30
going to pay a
days.
penalty. No,
Hey, you never
I'm not
know.
objecting. What I'm saying is next time, just find out if that's the procedure we should have to
Sure.
go through.
Okay, number 7, to consider and act on the resolution to commit to continue participation in the Regional Hazardous Waste Collection Center, which is down on Frontage Road at the Water Authority. We've participated in it for many years. It's closed for the year now. It closes in October.
I think it's a necessary thing. Otherwise, you could create an awful lot of pollution in this town.
Oh, yeah.
People disposing of it illegally.
Is that a motion then?
I'll second.
Okay, Selectman Nastri, Selectman Okenquist.
Just a quick comment.
Discussion.
Just a quick, obviously,
Go ahead.
I agree with what's been said. I just am concerned we're signing a contract that has no dollar amounts to it. It just says it's going to be prorated.
It's
We
driven
need to
by-
budget for it, and we're going to sign a 3-year contract that has no indication of what it's going to cost us.
Because it's driven by usage.
Okay.
Is how we're billed for it. There is a number, I believe, in the budget, and to the best of my knowledge, and you before me, it's never seems to have been a problem because
Is there a
It was based
historical-
on history.
Right.
Yeah,
It's based on history.
And we continue to get that history.
Usage,
It's
yeah,
just,
based on usage.
Yeah.
just interesting that we...
Other budgets, it's based on history, and unless there was an indication from the source that...
There will be, as I recall, though, there was a number, and I think you were first selectman, when that was put in the budget, I guess probably 3.5 years ago. I remember discussion on that at a Board of Finance meeting as to why it had to be. I think it might have even been Mr. Hoffman, if you recall, was on the Board of Finance who questioned that. I think Anthony might have been chairman at that time. And you got the info as to what our usage fee was. Pam could probably get that again.
Yeah, and what the Board of Finance will normally do is you have a history of the expenditure, and if there's nothing unusual about it, if there's a spike but even if there's a spike and there's a reason for it, you can't discourage people from utilizing the service at this point.
Oh, I'm not questioning utilizing the service. I just found it
So,
interesting we didn't have any number attached to it. So if that's the way it's been done, then that's the way it's done, and we'll just go forward with it, because I think it's...
Yeah, they provided, the last number they provided, I believe, was during the budgetary process, and I recall that because I didn't know, I learned about it at that point. But you were first selectman, I believe, at that time. And it passed, so I think we'll be okay.
Just to point, Jim, that I know I was down there last month, just before it closed, and most of the people down there working on a Saturday are volunteers.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just the Clean Harbors people, I believe, are the ones that are paid.
Yes.
So they try to keep the cost to a minimum. It's not a...
Oh, no, it's a good thing.
It's not a not-for-profit organization, so...
Very good. I think we have mice in here. I hear a lot of crumpling paper. With that said, and a motion and a second in place, is any more discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous, thank you. Item number 8 is to consider and act on the '08 calendar for Board of Selectmen meetings. January 9th, February 13th, March 12th, April 9th, May 14th, June 11th, July 9th, August 13th, September 10th, October 15th, it was moved a week because of Yom Kippur, November 12th, December 10th, and January 14th. And Mitch, I mentioned to Mr. Grimmer this afternoon your concern. If it lands or not, I don't know, but I did bring it up.
I think it's already been announced that the Business Expo will be June 11th, which is the same date as one of our meetings. And my only question to you is, do we want to make a change in advance? Because I think he's already got the date set with the Showcase Cinemas, so it was just a case of, if we make the change now, then it becomes a regular meeting. If we make the change later, it could become a special meeting, which could disrupt our agenda at that time, that's all.
It could. It's not a big problem to me. It makes it kind of a tough day, but, oh, yeah, it's happened every year. You know, I mean, to me, it's a tough day, but I'm back and forth. You know, Mitch stays there, they have a booth there, so for him, it's a little more difficult than but for me, I float.
You guys are okay with it?
I'm okay with it myself.
Just want to bring it to attention.
All right. At this time, we'll leave it, and then we can always adjust that if we want to, you know, do it, so. All right, so then, with that said, do we have an approval of, a motion to approve this calendar? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Okay.
Hey, Jim, before you move on, I just found in the budget, just for those who might be interested, we have in this year's budget for the household hazardous waste, $19,500. That's just people who might have been concerned about that last conversation,
So-
just so people know what it is costing us.
Yep,
For a
it's
town.
expensive.
Yeah.
What was our expenses this past year?
Yeah, what, does it have a usage there?
You have to look at.
We expended $582, but I think it's not.
That's probably an old bill, yeah. All right. Number 9, to consider and act on the tax refunds for the month of November in the amount of $6,990.55. Okay, are any of us on this list?
I have a question on the first item, though.
What's that?
The Tyco Healthcare. They're not out of business. They've changed. Tyco Healthcare's not out of business. They've changed their name.
Yeah, but it's Tyco Healthcare Group LP, which is a limited partnership.
Okay.
They very possibly, that's a corporate dodge. We get that more often than you'd like to believe. Before we go to committee reports here, I did forget something for the people out there in TV land. We are, I did it last year, and the boxes are out there already again this year. Outside my door, there are 2 boxes for donations of toys, new unwrapped toys for children, and groceries, unopened, non-perishable food items. And the food box is filling up very quickly for its first round, but that all goes down to the Community Services Department down at High Plains, and we have quite a few people to take care of in town in need in that area, and if there's anybody out there wishing to donate some food products, non-perishable food items, or toys for children, or sometimes even clothing and all for adults, it's new clothing, it would be greatly appreciated, and you can drop it off there in normal business hours between 8:30 and 4:30 any day of the week. Thank you. Okay, committee reports. Pension Board.
We meet tomorrow in this room at 7:30.
Microphone. We got to work you out. We got to make a
Yes,
sign
all
for you.
We meet tomorrow in this room at 7:30.
School building committees.
Jim, the doors that we're waiting on will be ready in mid-December. They're going to put them in during the Christmas vacation. Apparently, the problem with them has been that when the window bid was too high. We told the manufacturer we were not interested. There was a crossover which also took the doors out of production. It was a miscommunication, apparently. But theoretically, by the Christmas break, they will be, by and large, complete. Anything that's not complete in that time frame will be, they're going to work around evenings and such to get the last few of them done during school, so they're not disruptive of classrooms. The other item that we discussed, which was interesting, was discussion, there was a recommendation to the Board of Education that perhaps there should be a consideration of installation of a guardrail to protect the Mary Tracy playground from the town hall parking lot. A little too late, I guess, but there is ongoing discussion as to perhaps putting a wood guardrail in there or something
One
that
of
might.
those things similar to down at Wolf Park with those large timber.
They were actually talking about something like that. I made a couple of structural recommendations because those where the rails slide through are not, they're the best looking, but they're not the strongest, and they would
Okay.
not have stopped what happened here the other day. There are other actually less expensive alternatives that would do a better job.
Okay,
So, and it was a very short meeting.
good. All right. Capital Planning, Selectman Okenquist.
We plan to have a meeting in this room on 7 o'clock on November 29th to start our process for the FY09 budget. We originally planned it earlier, but all the inputs haven't come in from the various departments yet, so I think I'm missing one or two, so we schedule for the 29th.
Very good. Number 4, High Plains Community Center renovations, Selectman Blake.
No report.
Very good. Number 5 was personnel. There is no report there. I can say we will probably be meeting in December. There may be a couple questions coming up. But other than that, there's some FYI items there. Is there anything else for the board? Yes.
I wanted to just touch real quickly on the solar consultants' feedback. Want to say that I would urge the board to continue to work toward this, to explore this. I think the payback period is one thing, but the fact that this is the leadership of the town, and it needs to be, it's something that needs to be worked toward on a societal level, and it's got to be come from the top. I was interested to note that as they factored in their consulting fee, it moved that payback the 8.5 years that we were talking about at the last meeting. But as we've talked about, Jim, there are other options, and you've got some other names and people we've talked
Yep,
to.
some are far away, but are always an option.
Well, they talked about moving back this way, this
There you
kind
go.
of thing.
You never know.
And I want to just take a second to thank, it's been an honor to serve on this board. I really enjoyed it, and to publicly thank the town for allowing me to be involved on through the last few years here and other items.
Well, we thank you for your time and effort and look forward to sitting with you again. Very good. With that said, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Selectman Creel. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned at 9:16.